Hello everybody, how are we all? Paul79 here, I hope you're safe and well. Oh my word, how long has it been? It feels like it's ages since I said those four unique lines. But yeah, no, I've been doing all right, thank you. It's good to be back. We're now in May. And the last time, well, I think it was about a month ago that I did a video where I was talking about how you sort of prepare the front of the car. But it was back in January, so like, at least 2-3 months ago, that I actually did any work on the car. I'm really sorry. I've got reasonably good excuses. I've been, well, the biggest excuse it's been very cold. This is the UK and the weather is rubbish. And yeah, it's just not nice crawling around in a cold garage. I know I've got my heaters and all that, but it's not the nicest time. So yeah, I was working on the interior and I've done those time-lapse videos. I've also been playing a lot of table tennis. I'm playing 2 leagues. That's all over now. The season's finished. It follows the football season. The old ping pong one does, and I'm pleased to say we won one of the leagues and we came second in the other. So I've been playing a lot of games. Also played a tournament as well, in a local tournament, come runner-up in the men's singles, which I was really pleased about, seeing as I only started playing after about 3 years break. My girls have also really got into the old table tennis as well, which is fantastic, and I'm just so gutted because my dad was really into ping pong, God bless him, and obviously, as you know, he's not with us anymore, and he would have loved it to see them, playing, and they've really taken to it. So I take them to coaching once a week, and they've played a tournament as well. So that's all good. Obviously, work's been busy as usual, which is fine. But and also there's been the weather's been poor, and as I said earlier, and because I'm on like immunosuppressant drugs, I've been catching sort of like bugs and things like that. So I haven't really felt like working on the car. I had a bit of a fall as well where I sort of damaged my knee. Nothing hopefully too serious, but it hurts. And then I played a lot of ping pong. So again, crawling around on a cold garage floor is not really what I wanted to be doing. Plus, as you've probably seen, I've been doing quite a lot of Lego, and it's got a bit obsessive really. But yeah, as you know, I like to be doing stuff. I'd rather do things like that than watch telly. I've been watching football, but I do it whilst I build the Lego. But the weather is improving. It's getting a bit warmer now, so and I think I've done enough Lego. My beautiful, amazing wife, I think is a bit sick of it now. It's sort of taken over my office, as you've probably seen in certain videos and pictures. So, but yeah, I think I'm done on that. I think that's the problem with me is like, I get something in my head and I just go for it, and I sort of go a bit overboard. But anyway, so the Lego, and I've bought most of them as well. So just don't want to talk about how much money I've spent on it. But anyway, so the Lego is sort of coming to a close. The weather's getting better. I need to start working on this car. Also, my white car out the front, it was in the body shop as well for a bit. Well, about 3 months in the end. I wasn't in a massive rush to get it back because the weather was a bit rubbish. Just having some touch-ups, because it is a kit car. I use it every day. I don't store it in a garage, and because I'm going to take it, or have taken it, going to take it to a few shows this year, I wanted the paintwork to be tip top. So that went to my mate Dave at Craftwork, who painted the car. He painted also the grey Porsche as well, and yeah, they work their magic. They're fantastic, and yeah, it looks top notch. And then the other day, so yeah, Bank Holiday Monday that we've just had, I took it to its first show this year, went to Adam Seafest, which was a fantastic day, massive turnout, loads of cars, all sorts. I took it there, met loads of nice people. In particular, I met a guy called Yuli, his beautiful wife Maya, and his lovely son Ryan. Yuli is a guy who's thinking about doing one of these cars, so he's one of these people that watches all my videos, gets me hours up, which is great. And yeah, what I'm going to do now will certainly help people like him, and that's the whole point of the channel, is to to help people if you're thinking about doing one of these cars, because there's a lot that goes into it. Yeah, just to help people, because that's what I like doing. I like helping people. So a big shout out to Yuli, Maya and Ryan. Thanks for coming to see me on Monday. Lovely to meet you. Lovely to talk cars, and all the other people that saw the car and liked it and gave me some really nice comments and followed me on Instagram and YouTube. It all makes me really happy. So so today what we're going to talk about is, we talked about the front of the car and sort of how you prep it and fit the kit. The rear of the car is a bit more involved, and it's the problem is I've already got the kit on, right? So I'm just trying to think, how can I sort of talk you through what you have to do to make it work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in sort of 2 stages. I'm going to talk about the rear of the car, bits you take off the Boxster, how you sort of prep the Boxster sort of shell chassis, while sort of showing you on the kit, but you just need to imagine that RS wing is actually a Boxster wing. But then also what I've done is, obviously I've taken loads of photos of when I was actually doing it, this particular car, and it was probably about a year ago now. It was when Dad was still with us. But what I've had a great idea is, I've rigged up a computer to this big screen here, and I'm going to, in the sort of the second part of this, I'm going to put the photos on and sort of talk you through the photos so you can actually see. That might actually be better, because you can pause it and listen and rewind and actually see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to be a bit like a lecturer, you know, A plus B equals C and all that. I might even have, I get one of these knitting needles and sort of point. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do, and hopefully combined, I know it's a bit sort of, you know, bodge, but that's all I can do really, because I ain't going to rip the kit off just to make a video. So anyway, this could be a long one. I might do it in 2 parts, who knows, but let's see how we get on. So I'll see you in a bit. Take care, bye bye. GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording. Right people, so this is what the back of my car currently looks like, but you want to forget what that is and just imagine it is a Porsche Boxster, okay? Obviously cars all have the same sort of panels. So the things you need to take off your Boxster, first of all, you need to take your boot lid off, right? That'll be on hinges, just unbolt it. Next thing you need to do is take the rear bumper off, right? Again, there'll be loads of videos on YouTube about how to do that. So you just need to take the rear bumper off. You've got to take your lights out. So do your lights first, then that will expose where your rear bumper mounting points are. I'm not going to go into detail, but you get the idea, right? So you've got to take your bumper off, your boot lid. If you can imagine, because remember this was a soft top, you see this sort of gap here, that's where your convertible roof was. You need to take the convertible roof out. The panel that comes down over the roof, we'll call that the, we'll call that the tonneau cover. You need to take that out. So effectively what you need to do is open up your roof, right? And have the roof fold back down into there, but then stop it while the tonneau cover's still off, then you can unbolt it. All the mechanism for the roof motors is stored inside here. You can get rid of all of that. There'll be a latch here that locks down that tonneau cover. You can get rid of that. Although perhaps at the start, just leave that sort of connected. It doesn't do any harm. But yeah, you need to get rid of all of that. So what you'll be left with is a car with no rear bumper, no boot, and your wings, right? That's what you have. Obviously take your wheels off. You would have taken them off, put them on jack stands, because you're going to need them on jack stands for a while. And there you have it, right? So you'll have a car, there won't be anything here. You'll just have your wings, and that's what you want to work on. Now what we'll do is we'll show some photos on the telly later about exactly what I mean, but that's what it is. So what we can do is we can actually sort of look inside the car here. So you can see here, this is where like the Boxster boot ends, and you can see this ridge here. This is where like the original Boxster boot seal would go. What else? So you can see here, you see where my finger is resting on, that's part of the original Boxster wing, right? And that would have come out here like that and met with the bumper. So I know it looks a bit gruesome here, but the way this kit sort of works is you strip it all, and the first thing you need to do is, if you can imagine looking at this car here, so this is the 911 right wing, and the way it goes here on the 911, it goes sort of in and then up, whereas the Boxster wing, like the sort of the haunches on the wing, is a bit more sort of like that, a bit more bulbous, right? But of course, what you need to do, or what we do with these kits, is we don't take the wing off, the Boxster wing off, right? Because that's all welded on. And the other part of it is the way it works on the rear of the Boxsters is you have the outer bit, which is the wing here, and then you also have the arch liner, and they come and meet in the middle at this point here where your actual arch is. Now what I've done is I've drawn a picture. So what we've got here, so you can imagine we're looking from the rear of the car, and this is like a cross section. So the rear bumpers come off, right? So that's your wheel and tyre. And what you'll see, and this will be obvious when you get your wheel out and you have a look, but basically the arch of the car is made of metal. There's no like arch liner inside it. There are a few plastic pieces, but there's no actual arch liner inside it. It's actually metal. And then the way it works is, this is the outer part of the wing, looking from the back. That's meant to be your rear light. I know it's a bit dodgy there, sorry about that. But the way the metal joins together is like that, yeah? And then that's your arch, okay? Now, one of the things, the first thing you need to do is we need to make this, you see how it sort of comes down and goes over the wheel? Because the 911 wheel is bigger that way and sticks out more, we need to lose this part of the arch, okay? So again, imagine, I'm going to start another video. So imagine what we're looking at now is actually a Boxster, yeah? Forget we've got a roof here, and this is the wing, right? Thing is you're going to put wheels on that stick further out, right? And are higher. And because they stick further out, the original Boxster arch is going to get in the way of the wheel. So what you need to do, in that little diagram I showed, is we need, where this curve is, right, you imagine the wheel's going to come out further, yeah, and it will be bigger. The thing is we need to take this arch up so it's more like that. Now, this will be a bit more obvious on the photos that I show, but effectively what you do, and because you have the metal arch liner in as well, this, you can see here, this was that bottom part, yeah? This is the inside of the arch, yeah? And then the Boxster arch will come and meet, and you'll see, it'll be two thin pieces of metal that are welded, spot welded together to form the arch, right? If I go back to the picture, that bit I was just tapping on is this bit of metal here, and then you've got the outer bit here, and they join together. And in fact, they're probably, I'll draw it here, they probably sort of fold in like that and are spot welded together, yeah? So what we need to do is effectively turn this into, so it's more like that, yeah? If you can imagine, so it's higher. And then, of course, when your new RS wheel goes in, and you can imagine this is a bit extreme, but yeah, there's my tyre tread, yeah. When my new RS wheel goes in, it doesn't, there's no risk of it actually hitting the metalwork, all right? So, how do you do that? Well, the thing with these kit cars is you have to cut metal away, but you don't want to cut too much away. Not that it's really, these wings are actual structural, but if you can imagine, and you can actually see what we've done here is, this is original Boxster here, and I've got my kit fitting over where the Boxster part used to be, right? So we're putting a wing on top of a wing, and there's actually quite a lot we need to cut away of the original wing for this one to fit on. The reason being is because on the Boxster one, you see this sort of profile here, the way it goes flat and then up. The Boxster's more like that, as I said. So we also need to sort of squash down and cut out an area here of the Boxster wing for this RS wing to fit on top. But the first bit you want to do is you want to make this arch a bit bigger. Now, the easiest and simplest and cleanest way to do it is once you've got your bumper off, right, all you'll have is a panel that ends about here. You want to, I'm going to draw on this now, imagine again this is the Boxster. You want to cut slits like that around, I don't know, maybe an inch apart, like that, maybe not that high, to about there, yeah? And because you angle grind and cut them, then what you do is you fold both pieces of metal underneath each other and rivet it to the inside of the actual inner wheel arch lining. Now, I'm going to turn my camera on and try and show you what it looks like. Thing is we might not be able to see it. Hang on. You can't see it very well. All right, okay. So look, you can see here, you see those big round circles in black, they're rivets. And you can see the sort of rectangular slats, and you can see they've got like slot marks. So that's basically what I've done. That's basically a piece like that folded in on itself and then riveted up into the inner arch bit to make that arch bigger, right? Now, so there isn't really any metal of the original wing cut off. It's just cut and folded and tucked under and then secured. And then what that effectively does is make your hole bigger, yeah? Because your wheel sticks out further and you're okay. What we don't want to do is we don't want to get rid of all of this. So here's the inner arch, yeah? And you can probably see. So you can see here, you can see that hole there, that thing that's sticking up, that's a rivet where I've bent the metal underneath itself and then riveted it through the bottom to secure it in place. And in fact, if I shine that in there, you can actually see. So look, you see, you got this bit here, I'm going to draw on it, that's the inner arch liner metal, and then that, you see there's a slot there, yeah, that's the outer part of the arch, right? And I've folded it back on itself. I think you know what I mean, right? And when I show you the photos of it, it'll become a bit clearer. But effectively, you need to do that, right? The other thing that we need to do, I'll start another video. So the other thing that we need to do, right, is you can see how this kit, you can see how this kit wraps around the original Boxster door shuts, right? So when the door is on this car, right, and I shut it, the original Boxster door lines up with this, yeah? And what happens is of course on the Boxster you've got something like this to start with, but you need to create room to allow the kit to wrap around and be secured to it. So again, the way you sort of do that, and I've lost my pen, hang on. You can see that I've actually, you know, again, you sort of make cuts in the Boxster edge like that, and you push them in a bit, yeah, and that creates room for the GT3 RS kit to go round and marry up with the door. Now don't get me wrong, it's a massive trial and error exercise, and it takes a while. Always cut a little, not a lot, until you can get it, and there'll be a lot of putting it on and taking it off. The way I sort of do it is when you actually mount the kit, you actually have to secure the rear bumper to the 2 rear quarter panels, right? But when you're sort of cutting and trying to make room for this to do this bit, right, it's easier if you've just got the panel and it's not secured to the bumper, yeah, because you'll be sort of like putting it on, taking it off, putting it on, taking it off, to see if you can get it to marry up with the door, right? And the thing is you won't be able to get it on unless, first of all, you cut these arch bits, and also on the Boxster wing, and again this will be obvious in the photos when I show you, you actually need to cut out the Boxster wing this area here, because as I've said twice already, the Boxster wing is more bulbous, yeah, so you need to cut metal out here and squash it down a bit for then this to fit over without actually touching it. I don't know whether I can actually show you it here. There you go, you can see, you see that cut there, yeah, that sort of hole, rectangular hole, that's my cut to allow then this wing to fit on and not touch any of the original Boxster wing. But it'll be obvious when I show you the photos of sort of what I've done, yeah? So, and again, you know, take your time with it, don't do too many cuts. And you can see these marks here that I've done. I probably did a bit too many. And then the other thing is, you see how this fits in and it goes inside. This is your air vent hole, right, on the Boxster. A lot of the wing you need to cut off the original Boxster away here as well for this to then go in, right? So it's a bit Mad Max, and when I show you the photos you're probably going to worry a bit, but yeah, that's what you have to do. So it's sort of a bit of a point of no return once you start cutting this here, because you know these wings are all welded on. It's not like you can then easily bolt them back on, because they're not, they're welded on. But yeah, in essence that's what you need to do. And you can actually see how this rear quarter works. Hang on, you can actually see how this rear quarter works. We need to create space to fit this whole part of the rear quarter into the original Boxster door shut, yeah. So I would have had to make space from all the way down here all the way up to here. And then another thing, and I will try and remember when I go through the photos, is you'll see the top of the Boxster wing goes here and it meets that tonneau cover, and there'll be metal sort of here all the way to here. You need to get rid of that and actually flatten that down again for this kit to go over, because it fits right over the top. And unfortunately, because I've got all those side panels in there, I can't actually show it to you. But basically the way I would describe it is the Boxster, the tonneau cover area comes all the way around here, but then it's higher than this part of the kit that goes over it, so you have to sort of lower it down slightly for this to then fit in. So I know I've talked a lot here and there's a lot to take in, but in terms of once you sort of prepped either side, and it'll be clear on the photos in a minute, once you prepped each side, you have to bolt the bumper to each rear quarter, and it's like a shell, like a clam shell, yeah, or a U-shaped thing, and it gets lowered onto the back of the car. And how it all sort of fits together, and it's a bit like a square peg in a round hole, is it gets secured to the Boxster at this point here, right? You can see here, so what I've got here is I've got rivets going through the kit and then through the metal of the Boxster. It's obviously bonded as well. It's glued all along as where it can be here. There's no actual fixings at all of the kit at this part. No, that's right, yeah. And what there is in the kit, you get this plate, that it's you know, you can see it here. It's basically this shape. It's this plate here. It's got an L-shaped sort of angle here, and then the bumper hangs on the top of that, and the rear quarters hang on that. And what you have to do, and this is the beauty of the kit, is like very well thought out, is you've got holes in this metal frame bit, and this sort of holds the whole rear of the car together. And there's a lot of adjustable bits, but you need to drill holes in the original Boxster metal here. So this is the boot lid part, you know, that's where the seal would go. And you have these long threaded bolts that sort of hold the plate in place there. You also, and again I'll show you on the photos, there are some brackets, L-shaped brackets like that. So it's long and then short. The short bit's bolted there, and the long bits are bolted to some original mounting points on the Boxster. I think it's where the spoiler went, you know, the up and down spoiler. So that supports this metal plate in the air. The bumper hangs on it like that. It's wrapped around the car and secured there. And that's it really. And then what I do, or what is very much recommended, is then you can see here the bottom of the bumper brackets, you have to make them yourself, is then secured to original chassis of the Boxster there to stop that wobbling. I also put brackets either side of this on the inside. You can probably, oh no, I've got them off at the moment, but basically that attaches to the I don't know what it is, oh, the transmission there, to stop that wobbling, although it wobbles now because they're not on there, and it sort of just hangs in place. And the beauty is because you've got these so you can see here the rear quarter panels, there'll be holes, and there'll be holes in this metal plate where you bolt that to that. These are bolted to the original Boxster chassis, so you can adjust it up and down here, up and down here. These are all flat secured there. I've actually put a couple more bolts in here to adjust it further, and it sort of sits on like that, right? And then you have this panel that joins the two bits together. This is where your rear window sits, and you can see my parcel shelf, and then there's your boot inside it. And you actually have a bigger boot than the Boxster was, because if you imagine, this is where the Boxster boot ended, and you've got all this extra space here, all right, to put your weekend luggage in. Right, I don't know how much you can see of me, but what we have here is my TV, and this is basically a GT3 RS in a box, right? So here is a lot of the panels that you get with the kit. So you got a front bumper, roof, bonnet, that's a wing, that's a rear quarter, another rear quarter there, rear bumper, blah, 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 spoiler, that's original Boxster door, that's original Boxster wing, right? Now, you know, when you get the kit, there are a lot of holes you need to cut out. All of these holes here, the hole here, all of this, you know, so that all takes time. On the rear, you need to cut the windows out, the air vent holes there. Rear bumper's not too much to cut out, but it all needs neatening up, okay? Right, so what we have here is the rear quarters. So you can see you have to cut these holes out here, the window slide in here. There'll be markings, but I'll be careful with the markings that you see because they're from the real car. And you know, you have to cut a little slot here because that's where the window, part of the window fits in, and it slides in and it all fits lovely. You know, you have to cut holes here, but again, be careful of what you see pre-marked because it might not exactly work for you, yeah. And in fact, you know, so you can see here, you know, this particular hole here, I've obviously drilled a nice round hole to start with, but then realized it actually needs to be in a different position. So a lot of it is trial and error. It's worth on the inside of these arches neatening them up, so on the inside, and so if you were looking up underneath at the inside of that, you want it all nice and straight and square. There are holes here where you sort of rivet the panel to the original part of the car, but again, I wouldn't rush to drill anything that you can see as a marked pre-hole, because it might not always work for you. What have I got? Have I gone too far? No? Right. Okay, so what you can see here is this is me actually putting the rear of the car together. So there's one of the quarters, passenger quarters. As you can see that the bumper bolts, and there's two like flitches. Again, there is pre-marked drill holes, but again, be careful. I would just try and marry it up as best you can, drill a hole, clamp it, and then drill the other one. Again, you need a lot of space. So I was doing all this before I bought the donor car, right? Because, you know, you do need a lot of space. There is a lot of dust that's created. You can see it all on the floor here. You know, things like holes for the number plate lights, it's always best to do them first before you fit it onto the car. You want to neaten up all the edges here. Be very careful with these panels. Try not to damage them, because you'll be moving them around and they don't stand up. Like these corner bits where the lights fit in, I've dented mine and the body shop will need to fix it. You can actually see here on the bumper, what I've done is I've wrapped the pointy bits in bubble wrap, yeah, to try and protect them as I move it around the garage. Now, I've only got a single garage to do all this in. If you've got a double garage, then that's brilliant, because it'll be a lot easier for you. If I go back actually one, you can see what I like to do is on the inside of all the panels, I like to spray them black, because they come as sort of like the same colour as the outside, yeah, sort of like the beige colour. But it's quite nice to actually have them sprayed black, so it looks a bit more sort of OEM, a bit more factory. Of course, where you're sticking bits, so like the inside of this return here, which goes, so this is the door shut part, right? You obviously you can spray it, but then what you want to do is like prep it, because you'll be gluing that as well with the bonding seal. So you want to scratch it up so it's rough and and you get a better stick then when you glue it together. This is the same thing, it's on the other side of it. Yeah, you can see here that, you know, I've already damaged the panel there by rubbing it on the floor. This is a better view of the holes where I've cut out for the windows. You can see that, you know, whatever's pre-marked there wouldn't have worked for me, so that's why the hole is there. I'm just checking that this is actually showing good for you. You have to cut these out. I wouldn't worry too much about these at the start, yeah, just get the bulk of it cut out, not too much, because you can always trim that up when you fit the actual sort of the vents in there anyway afterwards. But yeah, what you want to try and do is when you bolt it together is you want to try and line that sort of arch crease up as best you can. You don't glue these two bits together, they're just bolted together, but you know, once you've finally got it in place and you're happy with it, thread lock it so it doesn't move again. Right, okay, so now we're on to the business. So what you can see here is this is my Boxster. It's got the 20-inch wheels on there now. You can see that they do fill the arch quite nicely, and like my original Boxster had 19, so it's only an inch bigger. Obviously the tyres are probably a slightly smaller profile, but again, and you can't actually see it on this photo, but this wheel actually sticks out, and if there was a bump it would actually hit that metal of the arch. Okay, come back. Right, I've taken the vent out. You can see where the original Boxster wing is. You can see at the top here, this was the bit that I need to cut out to fit the other wing over the top of it. But in essence, what you can see here is I've taken the rear bumper off. This bit of plastic here, which goes around the exhaust sort of heat shield, that's bolted to that. You might want to take that out of the way, but you do need that to ultimately, because it forms part of the inner arch liner. Okay. But what we need to do is we need to make this hole bigger, right? So we effectively need to bring it probably about above where that crease is. maybe a little bit higher, we need to make it round like that, yeah? Not so much at the front because the wheel doesn't go backwards and forwards, it just goes up and down, but we need to make the hole bigger here. The other thing is we need to cut out this area sort of here to allow the new wing to fit on the top and still allow, you know, air to get in to cool the engine. And then I knew I'd forget this, but I haven't now. But where you see this little section here, right? That gets in the way and that needs to be cut out as well. So in essence, what I've done, and you'll see it on the next photos, and it'll be a bit scary, but oops, I've hit the tripod. You need to cut out all of this sort of area here and then flatten the remaining metal down there. Okay. Right, so here we go. So this should explain a lot more here. So you can see I've sort of drawn a line of where I'm going to cut up to vertically and then tuck the metal underneath. Don't need to do it as much here. I think I sort of finished it sort of straight. The more room the better, right, at the end of the day, to a certain extent, because you're going to put a brand new wing all over the top and all of it's going to be hidden, right? But what you do is when you cut it, you fold it back under itself and you rivet it to the inside. You just sort of flap it underneath, yeah, to make it bigger. You can see here that this is where the rear bumper was. You see this line here, this is where the rear lights fitted, right? And then that bit I drew on the top, this area here, it's often best just to cut out that metal and then squash it down. It will be double skinned, yeah? There'll be another thing in the inside there, but that's okay. As long as you remove that sort of surface area bit there, everything's good. And I was talking about it on the last photo, but that extra bit here, you need to get rid of that because you can see the Boxster door there. So that door is shut. Right, and that's your arch, that's your door gap, yeah? You need to get rid of that because the way the kit works, it folds and it sits above that and that will get in the way. Again, what else you can see here? So you can see here that there's the original Boxster boot sort of opening and the kit fits and sits above that. Yeah, right, next slide. Next slide, please. Right, this might be a gruesome one. It is. So you can see what I've done here. So I talked about that bit at the top of the door. That's cut away. I've actually cut a lot of metal away here and then here. So you can see this bit. This used to stick up, but I folded it down because the kit fits over this lip here as well. It doesn't actually secure to any of it, but that gap or that void once the wing is on is all filled with expanding foam for sealant. But you can see here, and I've made a bit of a bodge of it to be fair, but I've actually created this gap for the new wing to then fit round and sit in that gap all the way to the bottom there. It's not the prettiest. I'm not really proud of that. But, you know, it's on, it's glued, it's secured. It's also riveted through the metal at a certain points here, and it's not coming off, right? Here's a better view of sort of me cutting out that area, as I said, because, again, the wing fits over the top of that. So I've really sort of flattened down that metal there. I've sort of cut it there. You can see how the wing goes. And this is what I was talking about, that double skin. There's this extra bit here. You don't really need to squash that down because the kit fits over the top. But all of this void, so and also here you can see how I've made the arch now bigger, and you can also see how much the wheel sticks out. So if the arch was as it was before, this whole inch of the wheel would be banging on it if it went up, yeah? So you just create a lot of room there. All this void here you see, you fill it with expanding foam for sound deadening and, you know, structural reasons. But, you know, all of this metal underneath, you don't disturb. It's all welded on, you don't touch it. It's just the outer part of the wing that you actually cut away. Next slide, please. Now, This is pretty much the same photo, but you know what I'm like. You should always care about the stuff you can't see as much as the stuff you can see. And the thing is because you're cutting metal away, you'll have raw metal showing. So what you want to do is you want to prime it. And in this case, I've also painted it because you don't want the dreaded rust coming. Yeah. So this is just the same thing, but I've basically just made it all black, made it all look nice. The other reason I paint it black is, you know, here is your rear arch vent, and I cut them out and I make the sort of grille bigger, and thus you can see through and see the inside of this inner arch liner. You can't see it in this photo, but there are rivets sticking up through here where I've secured the inside of the arch to it. Because you can see through my grille, I would rather it show black and not that sort of horrible beige colour that the standard Boxster inside is. Again, another photo really, but you can actually see sort of how I've created the room for the RS kit to fit round the original door shut here, and yeah, it effectively is riveted through parts of this metal and also glued to death all along here. It's glued along here. It's not really glued here because it sticks further out than the original Boxster sill does. But yeah, I've cut quite a lot away here. It doesn't really matter. I don't think it doesn't, you know, if your hole is, you know, 5 centimeters in, it's not going to make it stronger. It's just flappy. You can see how thin the metal is. Yeah, it's not very thin at all. It's not very thick at all. So to a certain extent, less is more. But it always, I get it, it's always a bit daunting when you start, you know, getting the angle grinder out. Again, another one here. Again, it's not pretty. It doesn't look nice. This is all primered up. You've seen in the videos earlier that, you know, how it all fits in, and the body shop will make it all good, but you know, it ain't moving. You know, you can see here at the top where I've actually cut away that sort of section, because again, the kit folds above here over this line here. This bit here, this is part, although it's hard to tell, you see this bit here, this is where your door seal goes, and it goes behind this sort of triangle bit and up there, and then that sort of marries up to the B pillar of the kit. Right, so something perhaps a bit less gruesome but a bit more Mad Max. This is what you can see. So this is how, obviously I haven't done the primer at this stage, but you can see this is how the rear of the car looks. So it's got no rear bumper, no boot, tonneau cover's gone, and you have your original bumper bar here. You don't need to do anything with that. You know, of course, the RS, the rear bumper sits further out, but you know, that protects you. You've got your centre exhaust here, you've got your exhaust shield here. I like to paint that black. I paint that black. Doesn't have to be a perfect finish, but you know, all of this I've just spray painted black. You can see how I've cut out the sections, so when the RS arch comes over, it fits nicely. This is this area of the metal that I've flattened down. These parts can stay as they are, sorry, that's terrible grammar. And all of this area, once the RS arch comes over the top, again filled with expanding foam, right, for sound deadening. I spoke earlier about that metal plate. So here are the brackets you get with the kit, right? So it's just an L-shaped bracket like this that bolts to there. You'll see when you take your car apart, you've got, so this is these sort of holes here is where the sort of actuators fit for the Boxster spoiler to come up. And I think the Boxster spoiler attaches to these bolts here. They're like, yeah, they're bolts sticking out. They're welded in bolts. But the kit design uses those mounting points with these brackets that you then put that big plate on top. And that's what the whole thing sits on. So here you can see those L-shaped brackets. There's your big plate. So you got these holes here. This is where the rear quarter parts bolt to. These slot holes is where this part of the bumper bolts to. You've got these slotted holes here that go on those L-shaped brackets. You've got the slots, yeah, for adjustment to move it all around. You've got slots here where those L-shaped brackets are to move it up and down. So there's a lot of fine-tuning adjustment that you can do to get it fitting how you want it to. And that's it. That's all the photos I've got. What you can see here is I've got the rear bumper here in place. You can see I've got a wing there. Sorry, a rear quarter there. That's bolted to that. You can see I've got my holes here. And basically I lift the whole rear part onto that, bolt it there, and then the bit where it goes around the door shuts, that sort of gets squashed in and secured, and then you have the rear end of your RS. These bits here are where the boot hinges go. That is you know, those long bolts that go into the original Boxster boot edge, that's there. I actually put 2 in, so I drilled another hole about there and there for the adjustment and to make it secure. And then once it's on, you fit that sort of bracing thing across that I've got in my video where it's all black, where the rear window sits on. But that's it. So it's really easy, obviously. But no, it's not too difficult. I mean, what you can also see here is, you can see here in this bit here, these are my rivets where I've tucked the metal of the arch under itself and up, and then drilled a hole and riveted it together to create the bigger gap on the arch. Okay. And then you've got, yeah, all this area, like I said, filled with expanding foam, and that whole wing just fits over the top of it. Yeah. So there's no compromise to the structural integrity of it all. Obviously, once you start cutting this all out, it's a bit scary and there's the point of no return, but it's, you know, it's not that difficult. There's no welding that's required. You've got all the bits to make it work. And the biggest bit of advice I give you, just take your time with it. And also the when you're putting on the whole rear section, because don't try and do the rear quarters first and then mount the bumper up to it. It just won't work. The problem is the fiberglass is very strong, but it's not as flexible as a real bumper. You have to do it all in one piece, yeah, and then get it on, secure it in one bit, move it, secure it in another, etc., etc. It's often, when you put it on, certainly for the first time, it's a 2-man job to do it, because it's just it's quite heavy, and you don't want, and it will move until it's secured at one point. Okay. But yeah, all good fun. So there you go. I know it's a lot to take in. I've probably put everyone off now with all of that. But yeah, it's a lot of hard work. It's dusty work. A lot of trial and error. A lot of swearing. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more I can sort of show you without actually doing it in real life. And unfortunately, I can't do it in real life. But I really hope that that's helped. So I know there'll probably be questions and that. So if you're doing one of these cars, obviously the whole point of this is me to help people do them, ultimately. So, you know, send me a message on Instagram. We can have a chat. And yeah, you know, if you really think it's for you and you can manage it, yeah, that's fantastic, and I hope I can help you achieve that. So anyway, I've been talking for absolutely ages and I need to go and have my dinner. So yeah, anyway, I will see you on the next video. Take care. Bye bye.